like depending, just got to ride, bro. But yeah, man, what have you been working on actually as of late? Like, I have seen you pushing a lot more on YouTube, a lot more than anything, and like the videos are absolutely sick. Like I was texting you, like some of those stream of consciousness videos are just absolute bangers. But what are you putting most of your focus into these days?
Like various different low ticket funnels. So like I'll give you an example of like a kind of revelation I had. So like you can run a VSL. I've been fucking with a lot of ads too, and you can run ads to a VSL funnel, like get leads, opt in, some percent book a call, another percent are on the email, another percent get the setters outreach to them, and you can book calls like that. It's a totally functional funnel, right? But then you can go further down the line, and get people who might be like 6 months to 12 months off of converting. So how do you get those? Because the only people that are going to convert from the VSL funnel are like the 1% of the market who are ready to purchase like pretty much right now, right? But it still leaves 99 to 98% of people. And how do you capture those and like inject them into your ecosystem? The answer is low ticket funnels. So like that can be a small digital product, like for instance, script swipes. This is a $20 scripts and shit, right? And then there's Cold Email Mastery. It's $497 a year for Cold Email Mastery. Really good course. People get results in there. And then I'm sitting here, I'm thinking, because we have ListKit too. And I'm like, that is a low ticket funnel. And I'm like, what am I fucking doing? Like I just like start advertising to the people who are on ListKit and like maybe even doing outreach to them, or putting them on the email list. And I'm like, shit, like this is really smart. But I'm about to start. I'm about to start ads for ListKit. So like for context, I think for client ascension and in all of its products. So like Cold Email Mastery, script swipes, we're at $1,400 a day on ads right now.
Sick.
And then I want to get ListKit up to a similar level. And if you could just, I mean, if you can get a 1x last month one, that's like disgustingly good. So we're gonna try to do that. Then just like throwing capital into that shit. The problem with is like if you do a VSL funnel, there's a shit ton of float. And what I mean by float is like people have a conversion cycle and a sales cycle, and it might be 2 months long. So you have to float the ad spend for 2 months until you get the return on it, which is a colossal pain in the ass. Such as also the nature is why low ticket funnels are pretty cool if you can crack it. But even the concept of getting a 1x on like a low ticket thing is so foreign of an eventuality that people think it's just like so easy to do that. And it's like, nah, dude, you gotta make like 30 fucking funnels here and try to figure out. Right. What's annoying about it though is like launching the shit on ListKit. So like for client ascension, I'll just make all of the shit myself. Like throw it on ClickFunnels, make all the zaps myself, make all the email flows myself, all the automations, all the with the sending to the setters. Like I can just make all that. Now, ListKit, we got this email designer over here and this HubSpot engineer over here. So like I have a shit ton of ads just like ready to go. I gotta wait for these fuckers to build all this shit out. And it's like, dude, it's been 2 weeks. Like, what is this? Like, what is this bullshit? So it pisses me off.
Man loves speed.
Really good. It's a really good product. Like ListKit's a really good product. It's getting better. About to have mobile numbers on there. And then we're gonna do like AI lookalikes and shit. So it's gonna be pretty cool. And so we're the number is 200 mil. If we get a 200 mil offer for ListKit, we sell it.
Gotcha. I mean, when you're looking at launching ListKit, it obviously makes logical sense within everything that you sell, but script swipes is obviously very new. So you had ListKit first, and then were you thinking suddenly you actually made script swipe second, and then you're thinking, why would we not sell this almost as part of like that low ticket funnel and see how it works? Was that kind of like, obviously script swipes came second. So is that going to be, I suppose, the funnel? Like so you're going to start off with script swipes first and then push those people onto ListKit, hopefully later on.
Well, these are like different LLCs. So like Client Ascension owns script swipes, and then there's a different distribution of the equity holders in each thing. So it's like Client Ascension pays the ads for script swipes. There's one click upsell to Cold Email Mastery, whatever that AOV comes out to, cool. And then like like there's shit in emails and whatnot and guides that happen to also include ListKit as something that you should probably use to make this a considerably more profitable venture for yourself. Cap table's different over there. So it's like what's annoying is that you can't one click upsell. What I wanted to do was you have script swipes, you have the order bumps, you have one click upsell to Cold Email Mastery. I wanted to one click upsell to ListKit. However, it's a different Stripe account, different LLC with a different EIN. It didn't capture the card info via, so you can't do that. And it's like, bro, this is bullshit. like what is this?
Complete bullshit. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking there at like the different kinds of funnels that you're running there, and you had this banger video recently that I wanted to touch on, which was like zero interest rate phenomena. You've like pushed that term now out into the world, and it's like I've been looking around and I'm thinking, I'm like, oh my god, there have been so many zero interest rate phenomena. Now when I look back, so like you would put out the example of like some people wouldn't even work their pipeline back in the day. Like we were kind of pushing that more so in Client Ascension of like working your pipeline and actually doing all of that properly. But for the funnels that you're running and like doing that in kind of more of a complex way, I mean, do you see like that being like previous or like doing more sophisticated funnels? Do you think that's like more suitable for this environment? Do you think everyone's kind of marketing funnel in general, let's say for an agency or even for software, is this just going to like need to become more sophisticated, like in the new landscape that we're in 2024, where kind of capital is drying up a bit?
Yeah, it's more so like squeezing the maximum amount of juice out of every singular lemon. So like, for instance, it is a very simple concept to understand for people who aren't familiar with the zero interest rate phenomenon. What it is like people buy shit, right? Someone's got a mortgage, someone's got a car payment, and the differential between their interest rate being 7% versus their interest rate being 4% is like in the area of thousands of dollars per month, right? So if people have additional thousands of dollars per month, like it typically gets spent, right? Therefore, there would be more liquidity in the marketplace. There's much less liquidity now, so people it takes more convincing because the implication of somebody spending money is higher in relation to their disposable income now. They have less disposable income, right? So what that means is it's just harder to get people to buy shit. So you have to focus on the back end in the conversion type stuff. There's really there's two kinds of shit going on here, right? There's the generation of traffic, and then there's the conversion of traffic, right? So like the generation of traffic, cold email, ads, whatever, those over time tend to go up. They tend to become more expensive, right? Now amplify this with higher interest rates, people have less disposable income. Now the conversion starts going down, right? So you have to focus over there. Like you cannot afford to not, like, every singular lemon must be squeezed as much as possible, because it's just more difficult. Like there are forces acting upon it now that are pushing it down further. So you have to push back up against it. And like I'll give you some for instances. There's a couple things that you discover over time where if you ignore them, you are financially irresponsible. Like tactics in your business. And like one of them is calling and texting leads, like collect phone numbers and call and text them. And I think 30% of our calls that get booked come from that. Therefore, that directly equates to a 30% reduction in the cost per call booked, right? So now, like anyone who isn't doing that, I have a 30% edge on you, right? And then, which is fucking substantial at scale, right? And then you have a VSL, like people on VSLs, like what are you doing? Like, what is this? Like they don't have any content of themselves on the internet. Like there's just nothing exists. They don't even exist. And it's like, dude, you really just can't get away with that now. Like it's really profoundly difficult to make anything profitable at all or experience any form of growth in any capacity without you existing on the internet. Like it's really quite difficult, and like you are in fact very financially irresponsible for not doing that. Like it's really not an option anymore. And I remember talking about this like 2 years ago, like this whole concept of having a VSL was like so fucking profound to all of Twitter. It was like, dude, it was like 2018 with my cold email agency. I had a VSL. It was me on a whiteboard. It was just some fucking kid, and it worked. it was so simple. And people were like, "Oh, this is so hard." I'm like, "No, it's not." Explain what's going on. Like, this is what you're selling. Here's some expected results, and it's like you just gotta get over putting yourself on the internet. It's really not that difficult to get over.
What would you put as like the buckets for an agency? So like, let's say you have your, like, how does someone escape zero interest rate or I suppose now being out of that zero interest rate period, like those buckets, I guess you have like, you have content marketing, you're going to have like heavy outbound, you're going to have like a VSL, but like there are other, like, would you say that there are any other buckets that people are like massively missing out on as well in terms of like that conversion of traffic sort of concept that we're seeing?
I mean, like obviously you're a coach inside client ascension too, and I don't know how many people run through that shit now, like 1,000. And it's just the same thing over and over again. It's like people are going to get stuck at specific walls in their business. So it's like the first wall is going to be like from like 5 to 10K a month. And like what's happening here? And what's happening here is that like is entirely fear based, where it's like they're scared to get on a sales call, so they're scared to fulfill, so therefore they sabotage their sales calls. They're scared to get on a sales call, so they're therefore sabotage their lead gen, right? Because there's a whole ton of shit that you haven't done before, like you've never fulfilled, and you haven't been on a lot of calls. So everything is fear based. So you subconsciously sabotage everything, right? So that getting over that is how you get to 10, right? And then now what's happening at like 10 to 20 is it's like volume of calls, because you're like at this point you've gotten over like sending a lot of emails and posting content, right? So now it's like there's a shit ton of calls, and you don't want to, now you're scared of just like being on the calls all the time, and you really don't enjoy getting on calls all the time. Therefore, you again sabotage your lead gen and put the volume down, right? So now this is kind of the point where you might consider getting a salesperson, or like legit just dropping the price over email or on your website, which is like actually works. People don't know, good, do everything you can to get them on the call. It's like fucking, or you can just give them the price and like and you just give them the price and not sabotage the deal. Like you just that's a better option than operating under the presumption that they must get on a call. Secondarily, what's going to happen after that is so you get over that shit, and now you're at like 20. And now kind of like two things will happen here. One is like if you started on a performance-based offer because you had no case studies, what'll happen is you have a lot of financial variability in your cash flow because it's dependent on the performance of the client's business. If it's like a revenue share, the problem is when you're like very low, you typically sign shitty clients. So by definition, their businesses don't perform and therefore don't make a lot of revenue, and you therefore don't make a lot of revenue share. So now like your income is extremely variable. So typically this is when I tell people, okay, it's time to stop doing performance-based. It's time to go to fixed. It's time to go to retainer, because you need to transfer away the financial variability from yourself over to the client for like mostly an emotional reason. Like you're gonna lose your fucking mind when you have no idea how much money you're gonna make. Like it's really just not good what happens over there.
Being there.
Yeah. So it's really interesting. People be like, oh, sign revenue share deals. And it's like, yeah, for like a profoundly good client, but you don't have the fucking case studies to warrant achieving access or even entertainment from them in the first place. Like it's I'm sorry. It's really like it's possible, but it's improbable. You see what I mean? So it's like just and it's like just just do a retainer. Like, it's so fucking easy. Like, everything's fixed. You can begin to productize it. Like, you can build systems around shit because you have predictability around your finances. You know what you can't do. Like, it's very simple. Your life becomes profoundly easier. And then so like that's the resolution at around like 20 to 30, and then that can get you up to like 60 to 80 with sufficient enough time. And then at 60 to 80, you start injecting more products. Like that's kind of where you do it.
Gotcha. I mean, in your guys' case, like it's interesting with like the coaching program, like there are just other things that like make massive sense for you to sell, right? Like I mean, in an agency context where you're saying like adding more products, do you think that means like add more services, or do you think that's like kind of just kind of ancillary upsells, which would kind of make more sense for someone to do rather than like building out almost a whole new division? Like,
No, typically it's typically you have the agency gets to like 50 to 80 around there, and then launch consulting, because consulting can be used as a downsell on the calls. So it's like a mastermind or a coaching program of some form, right? You start kind of building that up, and now you're operating that as a division. And then once your like collective revenue begins to get up to like, let's say like 200K a month, you can start fucking with the low ticket products. It makes sense.
Gotcha. When you were like, I guess like you guys were like working on ListKit for a long time as well, right? Like that's like something that for the customers of Client Ascension, obviously it just makes so much sense to do. You've as well always had kind of an affinity for software. I feel like you've definitely like, I remember you just like tweeting back in the day of like 2020 of like, oh man, I really want to own a software company. And then you did. And then you just like started software companies. But let's say like going into software, like software is not a beginner business, like whatsoever. Software is like a whole different ball game. So what would you say were like some of the like things you maybe hadn't considered, you know, before like going into ListKit, or like were there any kind of like interesting things around the launch of like just the difficulties that would go into starting a complex business, you know, such as that?
Yeah, so this is interesting. The success of a software company is entirely dependent upon the devs. So therefore you need a good CTO, right? So I've done like 5 SaaSes, and all of them failed except ListKit. It's all from like dev work, all of it, 100% of it. So, like, for instance, the reason why I like software is if we were to like this concept of logistical intensity, right? So what is logistical intensity? Let me define that for everyone. If you sell somebody something, it must be fulfilled, right? So let's think about this. We have the most logistically intense offer that you can have, which is an agency. It's done for you, right? And then you have a coaching program, which requires coaching. So that's less logistically intense than an agency, but it's more logistically intense than a course that perhaps has a private group where you have to answer questions and shit like that. And then you have software, which is less logistically intense than that. You see what I mean by this? So we have this graph, right? And then like on the one axis, an agency, like say we're running ads. A done for you service is easier to sell than a course. Profoundly easier to sell. Like selling a $3,000 per month done for you service is easier than selling a $300 course. The reason why is because people don't want to fucking do anything. Right? So the entire nature of the offer is a value proposition in and of itself. We do all of the work. That's a part of the value proposition. So this is why if you're running an agency, it should be made very apparent everywhere that it's done for you. We do everything, right? And this is a big mistake agencies will make, particularly if they are running ads themselves, or even just in cold emails. Like, say it if it's done for you, say it's done for you. They don't know that. That has to be made apparent. So it has an intrinsic value proposition baked within it. Therefore, it's easier to sell. In exchange for it being easier to sell, it's more logistically intense. You see what I mean? So the graph is actually better like this. It starts at the top and goes down. And on the y-axis, it's logistical intensity. And then the x-axis is difficulty to sell. But SaaS is a little weird because it kind of like goes, it's like spikes back up. It's less logistically intense and it's easy to sell. So however, it has a shit ton of front-loaded risk, right? So like it's difficult to make a software company. Like you need technically advanced people who are typically expensive, right? So therefore, it can't be replicated as easily as an agency could, as a coaching company could, and as a course could. So we could put some third dimension axis here and make it a 3D graph where like each of these is ease of replication. So software is the least logistically intense, the easiest to sell, and the hardest to replicate. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
This is why it's so fucking good. Because when it starts working at product market fit and it's making a lot of money, it's just fucking profound. What like the situation you've arisen into. And now that's not to say like when I say logistical intensity, I'm talking about raw fulfillment. Like I'm not like we're not getting on there and like building the list for people. We do in a way like we inject logistical intensity into it to differentiate for other people. So like for instance, we have customer support people. They'll get on like fucking 8 calls a day with customers to build their list with them and show them how to use ListKit. We also have a sales team. Like if we get a phone number, like we're gonna call them. Like we're when I say logistical intensity, it's the logistical intensity around fulfillment, right? But now it's like, for instance, we started ListKit. It's like I'm just building the shit in exactly the same fashion which the marketing system of Client Ascension works. So it's like funnels. Maybe it's a lead magnet. Maybe it's just a demo video. Maybe it's some VSL to name, email, phone. Bam. What happens with that? They go on an email list. They get called and text to get set on a demo. I'm sending videos of how to use this. I'm showing case studies of other people. It's just funnels. Like it's just a shit ton of them. Like a lot. Like and I'm quite like I have like a like in my notes app, I have like a literal directory of like all of the funnels in the URL. So it's like funnel 1, funnel 2, funnel 3, funnel 4, funnel 5, funnel 6. And then like that's how I delineate them. So it's like when I go and make ads for it, like I'm labeling it funnel 1 and then like funnel 2. And then you throw spend through these. And like what happens now? Like what was the efficiency of that? Like how many customers did we get? What was the LTV of them? And then you just play with this fucking forever.
So would you attribute that like almost, I could be wrong, but definitely with a lot of softwares, I feel like they do like the marketing isn't necessarily like really strong direct marketing, like direct response marketing. For a lot of softwares, it's kind of like banal, like brand marketing, not really like a strong offer or anything like that. But like, I don't know if you want to share, but like the growth of ListKit has been like absolutely insane. Like it's been,
So it was like month 1 was like 50 and then it was 80 and then it was 125.
like for a software, that's insane. Because
Yeah, it's pretty fucking profound. Yeah.
Like, would you say that like where a lot of softwares falter is that they don't really have that like direct marketing ability, like within the company, where it's like it just doesn't really work. Is like their funnels aren't very strong. Like they're not really good at acquiring customers, and it's just really slow. Like those like NPC YouTube ads that you get for softwares, and it's like no strong claim or anything like that. I mean, that's got to be like a huge majority of like the success has to be attributed to like just having that skill and being able to like push that style of marketing towards the software.
Yeah, so like what they're doing is they're doing a CAC LTV arbitrage. So like for everyone who doesn't know, CAC cost to acquire a customer, and what is the ratio of that times the lifetime value of them, right? So like say their LTV is $1,000 and they go spend $800 to acquire someone, but they're not going to make the $1,000 until a year has elapsed. So they're effectively like what they're effectively doing here is they spend 800 to make 200 in profit over the course of a year. So like you need to look at this from like a financial standpoint. So it's like 200 divided by 800. That's a 25% return on capital over the course of a year. That's what they're doing. So that's like return on capital. So now what happens if they go get a shit ton of VC funding, they go get 10 mil or some shit, and they have dog shit ads, and they're acquiring customers at 800. They're like, cool, 25% return on capital. And then like now what they're trying to do here is like, oh, and then referrals will replicate it on the back end in whatever fashion by which that elapses, right? But they're just not aware of the concept that like if you finagle and fuck with this sufficiently enough time, like you could get like a month one payback period. Like you can liquidate immediately if you fuck with it enough. Like but again, like I was saying earlier, like trying to get a 1x at scale is actually a very foreign concept. Like it takes a fucking astounding amount of testing and just finagling of this shit to try and find that. Like it's a lot.
I'd say no one's really able to do it. Like as a result, I mean, like you've been able to do it, but like I'm sure that's like literally like the rarest thing ever to like be able to do that with the software. Like get like a 1x in the beginning, because then like the LTV on that's just going to be insane. It's just almost
if you get that, it's done. It's done. You will scale fucking fast. Like if you're not a pussy. So like for instance, let me give you for instance. So let's say you go spend like 10 grand on ads and cool, you self-liquidated. Now the problem with even is like assessing dates is someone will see that and they'll be like, oh cool, well then we'll just spend another 10 and then we'll like scale at the pace of profit or whatever. And it's like, again, there's still float where it's like, yeah, you got 10 back, but like now like do 50. They're like, oh, well, that's like really risky. And it's like, well, yeah, like fucking it is. It just depends how ballsy you are. So it's like right now, like we're being real ballsy. Like it's like 2 mil a month or bust. Like, fuck it. Like, let's go.
It's going to happen. Definitely. Like it's just like a time equation from there. Like once the marketing is on point, because like the product is sick and like everyone's fucking happy with the product who's tried it. Like, so I mean, you've talked about that concept before, which I always find quite interesting, of like reasons some people don't grow is just because they're scared. Mm-hmm. It's literally just because you're scared. It's not necessarily a lack of knowledge or anything like that. It's like you already know. I think I'd pulled up like one of your tweets because like I sometimes do that in terms of like listicle stuff. Just when you get into one of your grooves and you just start fucking banging out a new concept. You were saying on Twitter, I bet you don't scale because you're scared. It's not that you don't know how, you are scared. So where do you see the application of that with a lot of people, you know, in I suppose our space, so to speak?
Yeah. So like if you go, like let's just say it's an agency or like a coaching program or something. I'm going to use that as an example. You go spend up $300 a day on ads. You spend for a month. You spend for a fucking week, and you book 100 times 7, $2,100. Let's say you book like 5 calls. It's like a pretty expensive call, but it's like now it's like, but you haven't collected cash on them. Some people are still in sales cycle, like it's still leads who maybe haven't booked a call yet, and they're like, "Well, we're 2,100 out." Like it didn't work. Like they're everyone's scared of the float, and it's not just capital that's getting floated. It's also time. So like the same thing with cold email, and content marketing. It's like if you sit there and produce like a shit ton of content or send a shit ton of emails and you're sitting here response handling all day, getting the calls, but then you're hopping on like that's labor flow. Like you're doing a lot of work for like a pretty good amount of time with zero benefit being realized, because someone might be, well, like the calls from the cold email might take like 2 weeks to close. And it's like, oh, well, that's easy. Yeah, I can handle 2 weeks, until it's like day 5 and you're like, fuck, this sucks. I'm not doing this anymore. Because everyone can think in Everyone can conceptualize a long-term time period until day 5 comes around. Like that's just what happens. But they don't get the concept of like it's. You see what I mean? Like they can't live through it.
This is it, bro, because it's like you like physical pain and like mental pain are like very different things. It's all like mental pain in business, and that's like almost that like may as well be infinite, because it's like you're literally like when you're pushing forward into what is still uncharted territory for you, like for a lot of people doing, let's say they just start running ads, because like we were running ads, for instance, is like you're kind of staring into the void a bit, because like you are just going into uncharted territory. And like I think a lot of people can't handle that. And it's like the people I would see who do really well are people who just push into uncharted territory, and they kind of have that like just fuck it mentality, in a sense, where it's not like they're like they protect themselves from ruin risk. Don't get me wrong. It's like they set this amount, they're like, look, we can afford to like take this shot, and they are taking shots all the time. But that like mental pain is almost infinite, because you don't know what's possible for you, like, or like you don't know what's possible for ads to work for you, and you're spending all this money with no look of return just yet. So then it's this completely new concept. And even though you may have conquered that in one other domain, like let's say you've done that with cold emails before, you've done it with content marketing before, it's like there's a relearning process within each kind of new thing that you implement within the business. And it's like that mental pain, I suppose, concept that like holds people back a lot. Like two of my buddies who I do a lot of traveling with, like they're just, I would say they are elite at like handling mental pain, just from like staring into the abyss and like trying new shit and just saying, fuck, it'll work. And like, we're not going to die or anything like that, you know? But I feel like that does hold a lot of people back. Is like they are just literally scared of trying things. But it brings up another question, which is like when you're going into like new, I suppose a new bracket in terms of like scale as a business. Another kind of thing you're talking about there, right? So let's say you can get to I don't know, like let's say a 20 or 30K level or whatever it is, with a pretty basic setup. Like you can be doing some things wrong, you can be not implementing certain things. But at what point would you say in an agency context where you're like, you've tweeted before, if you cannot buy customers, you do not have a business? And I think that's such a great way of putting it. But yeah, like, would you be able to talk about that concept a bit more for people who maybe don't understand? Because in the beginning, it doesn't feel like you're buying customers, but you always are, like, no matter what. So, what does that concept kind of mean?
There are only 2 resources on the planet. It's capital or time. So, like, let's think of all the mechanisms by which you could acquire a customer. It's either content marketing, cold outreach, or ads, and nothing else. Oh, well, affiliates. No, that falls under cold outreach. Same thing. Oh, you can referrals falls under cold outreach. Like there's content, cold email, ads. That's it. Content is 100% time. Cold email is a little bit of capital and a little bit of time, and ads is just capital, a very small amount of time. So not so well, I'm producing a lot of content, and you're spending, though. Like you quite literally are spending, because there's some eventuality where you can go acquire a face of your business, or you, like, you're doing editing and you acquire an editor or a person who scripts the videos for you. Now you're purchasing time with capital, so they're always interchangeable. You see what I mean? There's something interchanging here. And this is why, like, it goes back to the concept of logistical intensity. Like earlier, if it's an agency, you're selling time. That's literally what you're doing. Coaching, you're selling time. Course, you're not. Software, you're not. You're selling a product. This is why it's very important to productize your business over time. You want to spend the least amount of time fulfilling the thing, because time is money. Like, it literally is. Because there's a certain level of scale where you have to hire people who cost money, who are selling their time to you for money. So it's always interchangeable. So you always have to be expending one of the resources, right? The problem with people as they scale is because they get their first 10, 20, 30K a month with time, and they think that getting to 200K a month or 300K per month also is time. But it just simply isn't. It's capital, because time has a local maximum of how much it exists at any given point. Capital does not. therefore, if you want infinite scale, you must use capital. So this is also where people fuck up around like 20 to 30K, is they think it's just time and they keep doing time. It's like, no, you got to spend something else now. So now, like earlier, we were talking about like return on capital as a concept. There's like return on time as a concept, but you can't scale time. You can't spend more time. You have 16 per day. When you hit 16, it's done. And then to get other people's time, it requires capital. Therefore, you will always hit the local maximum of time. And then you must use capital, and there's no other option.
It's true. Yeah. Like that massively holds people back. I think like that's.
Let me give you something else. So everyone's aware of the concept of compound interest, right? You throw $500 a week into a portfolio of stocks. The stocks grow at some X%. You get paid dividends. You reinvest the dividends back into purchasing more stock, which also continues to grow over time, which also continues to grow the dividend to which you purchase more. And this goes fucking infinity until you can literally have $1 trillion. So what will happen over time is you will monopolize all of the assets and you'll own everything. And the amount of dividends and amount of resources you have will be so profound that you run a monopoly on resources, right? There's also, and I was reading this, and this shifted my perspective from like spending more on ads in particular. I was reading Poor Charlie's Almanac, and he was talking about monopolies, and he gave this concept of like, imagine like a fixed city, like you can't go in or out. It's just like a fixed environment for simplicity. And Coca-Cola exists as the beverage company, and it's large. They make all of the sales. Now, what Coca-Cola does is they buy all of the ad space, all of the billboards, all of the newspapers, all of the magazines, all the posters, all the shit everywhere. It's Coca-Cola everywhere. And then another company comes in and they try to compete with Coca-Cola. And the only way they could do that is by advertising. People must know they exist. Problem is they don't have the resources Coca-Cola has. Therefore, Coca-Cola can outbid them on every single ad spot, and they will never get a singular one. So Coke has a monopoly on attention. The other one might as well not even exist. They can't compete because there's a monopoly on the attention. This is also why you see shit where people talk about like it's all about the back end in ads and shit. It's like you can lose money on the front end, but it's all about the back end, which is like correct. The reason why is because ads work on an auction system. So whoever isn't aware of this and watching this right now, if you start scrolling on Instagram or Facebook or click a YouTube video, this is completely automated, but there's a shit ton of people bidding. It's an automatic bid. So I'll pay 10 cents. I'll pay 11. I'll pay 12. I'll pay 13. I'll pay 14. I'll pay 15. It's automatic. What's happening here? And whoever bids the most gets the spot, right? And if they have a higher back end than you, like they know their LTV and their LTV is profoundly high, they have more resources than you. So they get the customer who then their LTV is realized for the company. They pour that back into acquiring more attention and you get outbid. And you might as well not even exist. So you get priced out because someone monopolized all the attention. That's what happens.
It's a good concept for people to kind of realize there, I suppose. Like, I suppose almost like switching gears a little bit, because I kind of actually want to go back to like one of those concepts that you had. I know we're coming up to time here a little bit, but within all of the companies, like I think sometimes as well where people can kind of like go like what you've done really well is that even like across the different things you're doing is you have such congruence. Like even across all the things you're like, right, Daniel has like all these companies, right? But like they all make logical sense for you to have all of them together. Mm-hmm. So I haven't seen really many people, definitely just online in general, have that sort of congruence across their businesses. I mean, like when you set out, and it's like going way back to the beginning of the pod, but did you almost have this like in some kind of infrastructure in your head of like this singular funnel that you have? Because where you've like client ascension, where you've like the lower ticket offers, where you have list kit, like these all make complete sense like to sell together, but like different people have seen, they've like two things that just completely don't work together in a sense. And I think it like probably like dilutes their efforts. Like even if you see someone who like has a brand or an agency, or like they have like an agency and software or whatever it is, sometimes it's just not all that congruent. But how does everything that you have almost fit into like this one funnel? Like how do you think you've been able to execute that so well where other people just simply haven't?
Well, it always stemmed from, well, like I would never launch something unless I knew I could like immediately sell it. So like for instance, um, like I had the agency, and then I made cold email mastery. But it's like, why did I make cold email mastery? Because I knew some percent would become an agency client. So I had something else to sell them. You see what I mean? And then like I had cold email mastery, and it's like, oh, I can make a software around cold email because I have all of these people who bought cold email mastery. So I can just immediately make revenue from it. Right. And the same thing for every other one of the softwares. And then like, why did I make client ascension? Because I knew I had a shit ton of people from the software and from the agency and from the course who would buy client ascension. And then we make another software. It's list kit, and that can be sold to all of the other ones as well. You see what I mean? Because it always just stemmed from the fact like I could sell this to the people I already have access to. Because remember, we go back to the concept of like traffic costs money, but I just so happen to have access to all of these people who I don't have to spend money to get access to. You see what I mean? So it could just insta profit.
Yeah, it
So
makes a lot.
is this constant like stepping up and building upon what was built upon before?
All I would say in like the singular thing of almost like acquiring customers is like what you know best, or like I do say like VSLs is like you're kind of like main, or like little skill that you know to do really well, but it's all in that sphere of like acquiring customers, which I think it's like why it potentially makes logical sense rather than anything else. But yeah, bro, wrap here a little bit. What's the plan for 2024? Like I suppose like for everything that you're growing, like is there, I know a certain I know you had some like revenue goals you wanted to get to, you're saying on Twitter and that kind of thing, just like kind of like basic things. But yeah, what are you looking at?
I'd like to hit our first $1 million month with everything combined, $1 million revenue in a month. I'd like to do that. That would be cool.
Dope. That's fucking sick. But yeah, bro, finally there. So where can everyone find your stuff? I know like everyone's probably a lot of people watching are already gonna know you, but yeah, what should they look at for like this get client ascension, for which like for what kind of demographic of person should they be looking at each thing? And yeah.
Yeah, so anyone who just wants to watch my YouTube videos, just search Daniel Fazio, Twitter, Cold Email Wizard, client ascensions, just clientascension.com. Connor is a coach in there as well. And then if you want 500 million B2B leads, just listkit.io.
Based. Thanks so much for coming on the show, bro. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you, brother.
Cheers.